Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the show. Fernando, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Wonderful.
There you go.
If your eyes are astute, as most of yours are, you recognize that door panel. You're like, hey, I've seen that before. There's enough. Oh, what could it possibly be? A Ford F-150. Mind blown. Don't worry about it. As we've said in past videos, it's not necessarily the Ford F-150 that's the most important part of this video. It's what's going into it. And today we have a lot of cool stuff going into it. It's a basic build in the sense that this wasn't crazy money to do what he did. And you might be asking, what stuff is that? Right, Fernando?
Tell me.
Well, here we go. We're going to be putting in a kicker key 501 on two 10-inch subwoofers underneath the back seat, which we'll talk more about kicker key in a minute if you guys aren't familiar with it. And the kicker key 204 on the front stage. This is going to just power the front stage. The radio we are putting in rear speakers will be powering the rear speakers. For speakers, we're going to be going with the Morel Maximal Ultra 602 6.5-inch component set and the matching coaxials in the rear door. And then for subwoofers, we'll be using a set of Kicker Comp RT10s and a B-Box from A-Trend. We'll also be running a full power and ground in this 4-gauge. These two amplifiers have together combined 80 amp current draw. Awesome. This car has stop start. We're not gonna have to bypass it. Let's take a look at the amplifiers and I'll tell you why. Kicker key. What is it? What does it do? Why are we going with it? All those fun questions. But right off the bat, one of the things that we mentioned was we don't have to bypass the stop start. And that's these logos right here on top of the amplifiers. Why we would need to bypass it, stop start, for those of you that have it, is kind of a pain in the butt. For those of you that don't know what it is, it's a feature, and some of you guys have seen this before, when you pull up to a stoplight and the car stops. The engine shuts off like a golf cart. It'll stay off until one of three things happen. You press the gas pedal, it's off for a certain amount of time, or the voltage drops below an acceptable amount for the car to start back up. These are designed to work at low voltage in the sense that when that car starts back up, the battery can sometimes drop below 8.5 volts. Most amplifiers don't like that. They're only designed to work down to like 10 volts, some 9, so it's borderline on those. These are designed to work with stop-start vehicles. They won't cut off. And that's what happens when the car starts back off. Your audio system cuts off for a second and then it turns back on once it gets above that voltage, which it can be irritating. Stop start in most vehicles are simple enough to bypass, but with these amplifiers, it's not even a concern. You don't have to worry about it. As far as what key brings to the stage, the kicker keys are DSP'd amplifiers, but not in the sense that you have to plug them into a laptop. They auto DSP. Let's start with the 204. 204's unique feature built into it is the fact that it comes with this guy right here. This is a microphone. This microphone is designed to listen to the acoustic output of the stereo and tune the car automatically. This will mount to the top of the headrest, which once we get this in the car and we go to the tuning phase, we'll walk you through that process. It has an on-off switch built here into the microphone, which allows you to hear it before and after, as well as activate the system. But this listens to the speakers, EQs everything. It also time aligns it, so it'll bring all that sound stage together for you. In this particular vehicle, we are going to be going active front stage. So this amplifier is designed to hook up two ways. Full 4-channel, meaning front and rear. You can do components on the front and coaxials on the rear like we're doing, or if you want, you can also do an active front stage, which is what we're going to be doing in this vehicle because it's got rear speakers, but they're not that important to us. This automatically will figure out what you're using for a front stage. Are you using a tweeter or using a high frequency mid-range? In this case, we're going to be using a tweeter, but because it has this microphone, it automatically listens to it when it's playing its frequency burst and says, ah, that's a tweeter, sets the crossover appropriately. In the box, you get two zip ties if you want to mount this somewhere in the dash. You get the strap for the microphone. You get the power plug, so this has your speaker output and your 12-volt power input. You get a fuse holder. This takes a 20-amp fuse. And you get your input RCAs. This amplifier will do high level or low level. The reason why this is so long is so that you can cut it here and and remove these and hook this up to the high level output of your factory radio, which is what we'll be doing in this F150. To do that, we will be using this harness here from Metra. This is the plug and play harness for their DSP, which we don't need because we have this, but the harness will still work. It's the AX DSP FD2. This will work up to 2019 F150s. That's as far as we've tested it up to. And inside this box real quick, there's two harnesses. This big guy here, which you don't need, but this guy here you do need. This is what's going to plug into the back of the radio. It has your outputs here. There is a bag of screws as well as the amplifier itself. Getting the amplifier out of the box. On the power input side, you have a protect LED as well as a power LED. Flipping the amplifier over, there's a whole bunch more stuff. In the top corner here is where your microphone goes in. And then you have this row of dip switches. The dip switches are what going to tell this amplifier what you're doing with it. The first switch is going to be auto turn on. That is what is going to sense the DC offset. This amplifier comes with Fit2 technology. Fit2 will sense a DC signal coming out of the factory radio down to 3 volts. Fader on and off. In this case, we will be turning that off because it's just going to power the front speakers. Compression on. Bi-amp mode, we'll be turning that on. EQ on and off. And time delay on and off. The reason why they put on and off for those is obviously you're going to turn them all on and let it do its thing. And it'll test for those when it's doing its initial testing. However, some people will not want time delay. Some people will want time delay. Some people want time delay but no EQ. So all of these things are capable of turning on and off for your pleasure and your listening enjoyment. The next two switches over here are going to be for the crossover built into it. This will auto sense when it's in the bi-amp mode what channel 1 and 2 is hooked up to, a tweeter or mid-range. So you don't have to worry about the crossover for that. You're worrying about the crossover for the bottom of that 6.5. You don't want that 6.5 to play full range. So your options on this are 60, 80, and 120. You notice there's two lights here. These are your distortion detection lights. One is for amp 1, one is for amp 2. It's a 4-channel amp, so basically front and rear. Radio detect. For this, we're going to be turning it on. This will put out an ohm load to tell the radio's factory amplifier that the speakers are still connected and to perform properly. The F150 just needs a small ohm load in order to control the output of the Class D amplifier. It will still play audio without an ohm load on it. However, it's best to have it on these or you could blow your tweeters. Other vehicles, let's say if we were working on a Dodge, definitely needs the ohm load or you'll get no audio out. Let's take a look at the 501. Inside the box, you'll find a quick startup sheet. This is what Kicker's doing in a lot of their amplifier boxes now to conserve on paper, but this is the QR code. So if you scan this will take you off to the instruction manuals online so you can download it and take a look at it on your phone or your laptop, whatever you like to do. But on the back, there is a basic startup guide, which is also in the 200.4. They have a, hey, read this. Inside, you'll notice that this doesn't have the microphone that the 204 had, but it's still a DSP'd amplifier. This just does it a different way. We get an Allen key, inputs, nice and long, just like the last ones. This does have the same high-level capabilities as the 204. Works the exact same way. Bag of screws and those two zip ties. This being a sub amp though is a little different. On the powered input end, it has an 8-gauge input, has 10-gauge speaker outputs along with a remote turn on in. Your power and protect lights have moved to this little area here. On the other side, you'll see an option for a bass knob, the key activation switch, which is for programming, your high pass or subsonic filter, low pass crossover, bass boost, DC offset select, as well as input levels high or low. One of the many things that are cool about the Kicker amplifiers is we can use the 402's remote turn on as an output to feed the input of this amplifier. We don't have to use DC offset on both, so we don't have to worry about them both looking for that signal, any weird things. We could also do the same with this. We could use this DC offset to turn on the other amplifier in the chain. So if we're going with this amp to power, let's say a sub, but you already have another amp that's powering the highs and you're on a factory radio and that one doesn't have DC offset, when you flick that, the inputs become outputs. It's really kind of a nice feature. We still will need to tell it that it's high level, but we can make sure that the DC offset is off. Now, how does this key amplifier do its magic? Well, because it's a sub amplifier, it doesn't need to listen to the whole car. It just needs to see what signal is coming into it, and it makes its adjustments that way. It will read the sound coming out of the radio, figure out, okay, what the heck is going on, and then fix it, flatten it out, and then you can apply your bass boost to it. The basic idea of the key is to go into the car, and by playing a few simple tracks and some programming, it does all your tune for you. You still have to set your gains. You have to get your gains right, because if you get them wrong, it doesn't work. That is one of the caveats of key technology, but it has the indicator lights on there to tell you when you need to turn the gains down. Right? No problem. Don't worry. Once we get these wired up and into the car, we're gonna walk you through the whole process of programming these, because it's super cool. It is really cool how this works and how it reads and does this stuff for you. The nice thing about both of these is you can grow with these amplifiers. Let's say you put 204 on your car and it does all the fun things that it's designed to do. Let's say a year from now you're like, I really wish I had more power, I want to upgrade my speakers. You can use it as a line driver. Some of you guys that caught some of the videos we did in the past, we actually had a 501 in the car, and we were using that as a line driver into the 2400.1 to drive the quad box. We were connected to that Ford factory radio. It was already EQ'd and fixed. There was no reason not to do it. That amplifier took 10 volts of input, so we just adjusted the gains down till we got below that. We had them like 7 volts, plenty of headroom there, and magic, boom, it worked like a champ. You could do the same thing with the 402, use that as a line driver into a bigger amplifier and make things louder that way if you wanted. So it's a win-win all the way around. Let's head into the car and take a look at what we're gonna be dealing with from the factory. You get this nice 8-inch touchscreen. It has Android Auto, has Apple CarPlay, but it sounds like crap. As you saw, it just doesn't have great speakers connected to it. There are tweeters up here in the A-pillars we'll be putting our Morel tweeters into, but for the most part, yeah, it's what it is. But it's got all the features you could ever possibly want built into it. Your air conditioning controls come up in here. There's really no reason to replace it right now, and that's why the key exists, so we can keep these radios. Now, to get this radio out, the steps needed are pop this grill off. There's 2 7mm screws here. Put your panel pry tool here, pop this. There's 2 more screws here. This whole front piece snaps off, and we can get to our radio, which is located here. This is not the radio, this is just a screen. We need to get to this area right here where the CD player is. Plug right here is where our T-harness plugs into. Make sure when you pull this out that if you unplug this plug, you plug it back in. I only say that because we've had several people do this and they're like, this screen doesn't work. And it's, yes, you forgot to plug this back in. Ooh, my bad. To get this out this far, you do have to unplug your FM and your Sirius XM antennas here, but then it'll easily come out, unplug it, plug it back in, you're good to go. The other thing, depending on what you're gonna be doing in this dash, removing this piece of plastic right here, cut it here, push that out first, does make it easier to work in the area. Like, we will mount crossovers, load resistors, and we can attach them to the top of this radio and then just slide them all back into place with this removed. In this case, we won't have to do that because the load resistors are built into the amplifier. It's just a helpful tip. As you can see, when you get up into the dash, there is some room here, so if you do want to mount something small, if we were just doing the kicker key, we probably could hide it in this area here. We're not going to be doing that. For our install, we'll be going here in this area.